Welcome back to TPS. When it comes to today's NFL coaches like Bill Belichick, Sean Payton, and Doug Pederson are doing just great. On the flip side, there are those coaches that aren't doing so well. You might even say that they're currently in the hot seat as they are facing make-or-break years. If their teams can't turn a corner in 2019, then they'll be updating their work resumes come January. I'm Justin Fraction, and today we present 10 NFL coaches on the hot seat entering the 2019 season. At TPS, we post videos every single day, so don't forget to click the subscribe button to subscribe. Then click the notification bell to be notified when we post a new video. And if you have any ideas for cool videos, let us know in the comment section. You never know, we might use one and give you a shout out. Number 10, Mike Tomlin. Normally a head coach with a .654 winning percentage, 6 division titles, 0 losing seasons, 2 AFC championship banners, and a Super Bowl 43 title in the span of 12 years wouldn't be on the hot seat. But it certainly feels like this is going to be the last hurrah for Pittsburgh Steelers head coach Mike Tomlin if the prideful organization endures another disastrous season. Tomlin and the Steelers look like a Super Bowl contender with a 7-2-1 record last year, only to fall apart by dropping 4 of their final 6 games to miss the postseason. And with that, the Steelers had missed the playoffs for the first time in 5 years. Tomlin isn't on the hot seat because of Pittsburgh's embarrassing collapse, though. His job is in jeopardy because of all the locker room drama that's been going on for a while now. Pro Bowl running back Le'Veon Bell sat out the entire 2018 season after failing to reach a long-term deal with the Steelers, which led to frustrations in the locker room. Then All-Pro wideout Antonio Brown got fed up with Ben Roethlisberger, walked out of a practice, and didn't bother to show up for their Week 17 game. He asked to be traded, and the Steelers sent him to the Oakland Raiders for draft picks. Tomlin, though, a great head coach, has also not been able to deal with drama makers in that locker room. He let Brown get away with too much, and you just get the feeling that this roster could implode at any minute. It's all up to Tomlin to A, get this team back together, and B, get this team back to the postseason. If Tomlin can't do that, the Steelers may have to go searching for just their 4th head coach in the past half-century. Number 9, Kyle Shanahan. 2017 was a rebuilding year that ended on a high note when quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo closed out the season on a 5-0 run. 2018 was a year full of expectations in San Francisco, but the 49ers season practically ended when Jimmy G tore his ACL in Week 3 against the Kansas City Chiefs. Kyle Shanahan was not at fault for that. But now the 49ers really need to take a step forward in year 3 of the Shanahan era here. GM John Lynch went all in this offseason, adding the likes of Nick Bosa, Dee Ford, and Quan Alexander to strengthen his front 7, plus playmaking running back Tevin Coleman. There have been reports that Shanahan and Lynch aren't seeing eye to eye, however, and these power struggles between coaches and GMs never go well. If the 49ers don't turn it up a notch in 2019, it wouldn't be a surprise if Lynch used this as an opportunity to fire his head coach that he apparently doesn't get along with. The 49ers don't have to go on a playoff run, but Shanahan has to get them around, 8 to 10 wins. It's time for the organization to make progress again. Another losing season may not cut it for Shanahan. Number 8, Bill O'Brien. We should have O'Brien higher on this list, but Houston Texans ownership seems to have faith in his ability to lead this group to a Super Bowl. The Texans fired GM Brian Gaine nearly 2 months after the draft, even though he oversaw an AFC South Division winner in his only year on the job. Reports surfaced that O'Brien and Gaine were caught in a power struggle, and the McNair family took the side of the coach. Through his first 5 seasons on the job, O'Brien posted a 42-38 record. 4 winning seasons and 3 AFC South titles is nice, but he only picked up 1 playoff win. And that was in the 2016 AFC wildcard round when the Texans beat an Oakland Raiders team who had a 3rd stringer named Connor Cook in as their QB. O'Brien has been outcoached time and time again in Houston's big games. The defense took a major step back in 2018. The offensive line is a mess. How much longer can O'Brien get away with wasting the prime years of Deshaun Watson, J.J. Watt, and DeAndre Hopkins? Yes, ownership has always backed O'Brien over his superiors in the front office, but if the Texans can't win at least a single playoff game, then O'Brien has to go. If they don't even make the postseason, then it'd be a shock if the McNair family gave him another chance. Number 7, Dan Quinn. Some wondered if the Atlanta Falcons would cut ties with Quinn after a disappointing 2018 season, which can be attributed in large part to injuries to their top players. This included Deion Jones, Devonta Freeman, and Keanu Neal. But the Falcons wisely held on to Quinn, who led this team to a Super Bowl 51 appearance plus another playoff berth in 2017. The Falcons fired numerous head coaches on Quinn's staff after a disappointing season, including their offensive and defensive coordinators. The changes on the staff better work for Quinn, or else ultra-patient and humble owner Arthur Blank might have to make a difficult choice. The Falcons have a top 5 roster in terms of talent. Matt Ryan returned to his elite form in 2018. The defense, if healthy, is absolutely championship caliber. The Falcons should return to the postseason in 2019. The keyword is should. If they fall apart and miss the playoffs entirely, however, The Falcons might decide to pull the plug on the Quinn project after 5 years. To be determined. Stay tuned. Number 6, Doug Marrone. Like Quinn, some wondered if Doug Marrone would be fired following a disastrous season in 2018. His Jacksonville Jaguars went from 2017 AFC runner-ups to last in the AFC South Division with a putrid 5-11 record. But the front office is giving Marrone another chance to take this team back to the postseason. They finally ended the Blake Bortles era and signed Super Bowl 52 MVP Nick Foles to an $88 million contract. Finally, Marrone has a legitimate starting quarterback to work with. The Jacksonville defense remains one of the NFL's elite units, but there were locker room problems there in 2019. Will Jalen Ramsey's contract situation cause distraction? It's up to Marrone to keep this team all in. The Jaguars don't necessarily have to go on a deep postseason run here, but Marrone can't endure another losing season in Duval County. Otherwise, that'll be it for a once promising era in Jacksonville. For what it's worth, we can't see the Jaguars being that bad again with this defense and with Foles taking over as their starting quarterback. Number 5, Ron Rivera. Riverboat Ron of the Carolina Panthers jumped out to a 6-2 start on the season, and they were in the running for the top record in the NFC. However, a shoulder injury took its toll on quarterback Cam Newton and wasn't able to perform down the stretch. The Panthers embarked on a woeful 7-game losing streak, only snapping it in a meaningless Week 17 contest against New Orleans Saints second stringers. The front office decided to keep Rivera despite the miserable collapse. He's left in the 4 playoff berths after all, and he had a .559 winning percentage throughout the 2018 season. If Newton does play in 2019, the season will be considered a massive letdown if the Panthers can't get back to the postseason in a wild NFC. Rivera has to get Carolina back there if he wants to keep his job. Number 4, Mike Zimmer. The first 5 years were up and down for Minnesota Vikings head coach Mike Zimmer. He got this team to the postseason in 2015 and 17, making it to the NFC Championship game later in the year. The Vikings entered 2018 in Super Bowl or bust mode, having signed quarterback Kirk Cousins to an $84 million contract. But Cousins wasn't able to perform behind a horrible offensive line, and the Vikings lost a must-win game in Week 17, eliminated them from playoff contention. Zimmer's reputation as one of the game's top defensive minds is a key reason why he still has his job. The Minnesota defense is always a championship caliber unit, but he just hasn't been able to solve this team's woes at quarterback. Fair or not, Zimmer stands to take the fall if the Vikings miss the playoffs in 2019. They have most of the pieces in place to win, but if they endure another letdown of a season, you can bet ownership will start making sweeping changes, and Zimmer might not be the only one to go. Our advice? Just win, Coach Zimmer. Number 3, Matt Patricia. The Detroit Lions fired Jim Caldwell after the 2017 campaign, even though the team was just coming off of back-to-back winning seasons. GM Bob Quinn then hired one of Bill Belichick's apprentices, New England Patriots defensive coordinator Matt Patricia, as head coach. Patricia and the Lions recorded a disappointing 6-10 record, which placed them last in the NFC North. Players were reportedly unhappy with some of the rules Patricia implemented, and it was said that he was late showing up to meetings as well. Not a good look for a first-year head coach. The Lions did have one of the most productive off-seasons, inking pass rusher Trey Flowers, who played for Patricia in New England, in free agency. Now the former Patriot wide receiver Danny Amendola was added. The Lions also drafted Iowa tight end TJ Hawkinson in the first round, giving Matthew Stafford another big-time playmaking weapon. 2018 was a retooling year in Detroit, but Quinn has supplied Patricia with enough talent to the point that they should be competing for a playoff spot. If the Lions can't get back there in 2019, it'd be a major surprise if Patricia kept his job. He's got to get on the same page as his players. He's got to win games. Otherwise, Patricia might just lose his job and ask Bill Belichick if he can come back to Foxborough. Number 2, Pat Shurmur. Despite a terrible 5-11 record in his first year as head coach of the New York Giants, Pat Shurmur has received another chance to turn this club around. With Odell Beckham Jr. and Landon Collins, 2 of the team's top 3 players, gone, we wish him luck. The Giants' defense is a mess. The offensive line is awful. Eli Manning has been past his prime for a while now, but the front office selfishly refuses to make a change. They've stayed loyal to him for far too long, and it's only set the organization back even more. If we can be honest, we expect the Giants to be one of the bottom 5 teams in football here in 2019. Shurmur can't be blamed for having little talent to work with outside of Saquon Barkley, but you know he's going to be the first domino to fall if and probably when the Giants endure yet another losing season. Nothing against the guy, but he's probably better suited as a coordinator, not as a head coach. 2019 may be Shurmur's final opportunity to show that he's capable of holding down a head coaching gig. And number 1, Jay Gruden. We feel so bad for Washington Redskins fans who have to deal with an organization that simply doesn't care much about winning. Whilst his owner Dan Snyder kept the same front office intact all these years, even though they make mistake after mistake after mistake. Head coach Jay Gruden can't take too much of the blame here. He hasn't had much to work with, and the man deserves credit for leading Washington to the postseason in 2015. But a 35-44-1 record through 5 years, only 1 playoff berth, most teams would have made a change by now. Sure, we've been critical of Mr. Schneider and his ways of running the team. Very critical. But we fully believe he would finally give in and make a coaching change if the Redskins miss the playoffs again. And no offense, but they probably will. No coach is under more pressure to win in 2019 more than Gruden. This team faces very low odds of reaching the postseason, but that's what Gruden has to do if he wants to coach Washington again in 2020. Which other NFL head coaches are on the hot seat entering the 2019 season? Let us know in the comment section down below, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. We'll see you guys next time.